Integrity, especially as an electrician. It's pretty important. So, what does integrity mean to me? Put simply, I would say that it's going to be doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And the thing about integrity is that it's like a muscle, right? It can flex both ways. So, the more you flex your integrity, uh, if you got a dishonest personality and you continue to flex your integrity into the direction of deception, uh, and just in general not being a genuine person, it's going to get easier to justify your actions. Let me fix this chat here. There we go. So, you'll start making excuses for your ingenuine integrity muscles. There you go. You're going to start making excuses for your ingenuine behavior. And it can become like a cancer. And you just got to cut it out. There's really no room for somebody that lacks integrity, especially in electrical. There's a bunch of jobs that you're going to make more money being dishonest. And as an electrician, you can make a ton of money being dishonest. If you're selling jobs, if you're the kind of company that charges, and this is fine, right? $100 for a receptacle, right? Your company needs that money. The van is X amount, the vehicle wrap is X amount. They got insurance, they got the ads. Some companies, they lose more than $100 per click on Google. It's called Google AdSense. You can put your company name out there. It's kind of like a pay to win kind of deal. And the more clicks you get, the more money you lose. And you're not even guaranteed those jobs. They're just clicking on your website. They're going to look through your website and they're going to say, do I want to hire this person or at least make a call? That click is going to cost you $100 minimum if you're at the top page. So there are companies like that. So you can justify and you can say, hey, we're providing this service that no other company can provide. We're background checked, we're licensed, we're this, we're that, we have this, the tools are on the van, we're fully stocked. You don't have to go to the supply house. We're going to guarantee our work, all that stuff, right? But 4Eyes, yeah, dude, these things are thick, man. You ever been in an arc flash? You know what 35,000 degrees of molten atomized copper feels like in your lungs when you're wearing a hot suit? You ever opened up a 480 volt switchgear and blown up a 400 amp breaker in your face? It'll make you have to wear these glasses, even when you're wearing all the correct protective gear. Even when you have 3 screws still screwed into the equipment, you unloosen 1 screw, you take your gloved finger because you're wearing a flash suit, so you really can't even see what's going on. And you put that gloved finger behind that cover plate. And next thing you know, you got a cannon going off in your face. Sounds like a cannon just went off in your ear. Like maybe someone dropped a sheet of 1/4-inch plate steel from the top of the Empire State Building. And you can feel the rumble in the earth. And the other side of that switchgear, you got 35,000 degree explosions blowing out the top section of the next 20 sections down. Sucks, man. Yeah, you got to wear glasses now. So, I guess we got 4 eyes. There's a lot of companies, man. The more money you make, the more dishonest you get. But when it comes down to actually doing the physical work, if you're not selling the job and you actually got to do the work, there's really no room for an electrician that lacks integrity. Integrity is Home Depot's inventory being correct. What's up, Joshua? So my story, right, when I became an electrical inspector, okay, everybody knows what a grounding screw is. These right here, bonding screw, grounding screw. Somebody tried to correct me and said, well, this is a grounding screw, not a bonding screw. Not really the definition of bonding, but when you have something that's already grounded, right, and you're trying to make that other thing grounded, you're bonding it. So this is a bonding or a grounding screw. It's not just a grounding screw. If I want to physically connect this to the table and I want to take a jumper wire here and we say this table is grounded here and we take a jumper here, that would be like a bonding jumper and we'd be bonding this. So if you're trying to bond or ground a box, it's very important because if you don't have if you don't have a source back to the neutral from the ground, you're never going to trip on a ground fault. A ground fault essentially takes the current off the ground wire, it puts it back on the neutral at the source, and generates enough back fault current to trip the 20 amp breaker. And you're talking thousands of amps. You're not talking 20 amps on a breaker. You're talking like 7,000, pretty much minimum. That's why your breakers are rated at 10,000 AIC, 22,000, 46, 44, 42, 42, 100, and then 200, and then you got to get into fuses and all this stuff. And I can do a video about arc fault, and I've done fault current calculations before. These are very important. As an inspector, let's back up. Forget that I'm an inspector. I was in the same company for 10 years. Okay, so I've been there, I've done that. Just in one company. I've been in other companies, but just in one company, 10 years. I become an inspector, and I see that somebody missed one grounding screw. What do? It's just one screw. They got 100 boxes in the whole place. What do? You're going to catch them a break? If you've been in this position, you probably are, right? So you're going to give them a break. So we just passed a house that's missing one grounding screw. You put it in the notes. You still pass the inspection, but you put it in the notes and you say, hey, make sure you guys please install that bonding screw. Now, I've got total recall memory, so the chance of me actually going back and double checking that is pretty high. But so I passed the house, missing a bonding screw, right? We got 20 inspections that day. I go to the next house. The next house is missing a bonding screw. What do? Well, I let the first house slide. Are we going to let the next house slide? You see what I'm saying? So that's the integrity that I'm talking about. That's why inspectors have a zero tolerance policy, because you literally can't go around pardoning everybody, because if not, the whole freaking city wouldn't be safe. You literally go to all 20 inspections. Somebody doesn't have a bonding screw. Now, you'd be surprised how many electricians actually don't show up for their own inspections. So even though you're missing one screw, guess what? That's why you fail, because we can't keep account of all this stuff. You guys just need to have integrity and install these things. They're very, very important. What's happening? What's your challenge? The challenge is, man, just to do the right thing when no one's looking. And that seems like a lost art nowadays. So we're preaching. So whether it's for monetary gain or maybe it's to save money, right? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. And time is something that you can never get back. So you don't have very much of it. You can't put a price on it. You could be a millionaire, a billionaire, whatever you are. You can never buy more time. You can pay for better health somewhat. Health is something you can't get back, but you can at least pay for surgeries or whatever you got to do. You can get health to some extent, but ultimately the time is what's going to wither away your health. So when you lack integrity, it shows up in your character. Who are you? Not real life, like channel wise. Oh, tools and tactics. I don't advertise as an electrical inspector because I don't want the cloud of being an electrical inspector. I want the cloud of being a tool channel, and then you guys get to learn all the knowledge. I can't afford to advertise my channel as an electrical inspector because that would get way too much attention. I'm trying to slowly grow enough to where it's just like all of a sudden we got a lot of fans, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous when I post videos that go viral. I go to jobs very close, no names, no faces, no addresses, no anything, right? Get really close up to the problem. And I'm a fire starter. Nice. That's cool. I try to post things to help electricians not make the same mistakes, because I see a lot of mistakes every day, all day. That's all I ever see. I see a couple of good things, and I also post those too. But it's very rare that you ever find something that's done very, very well. I found this was a big thing when I was in the field always. Tried to teach integrity, but sometimes there are people out there that just don't care. Yeah. There is, and those people are also unfortunately somewhat needed, right? Everybody together builds this team. So you got the guys that are always going to be cheaper labor that are stuck at the bottom. We call those guys old men stuck in a trade. Then you got someone like me that's just running circles and just climbing the ladder, right? And excelling at the company and becoming their boss eventually, that is eventually telling them what to do because you have the integrity, you've got the capacity to do what you got to do and get it done right the first time and all that stuff. So there's just those guys are going to be those guys. And then you got your lead men that are checking on those guys to make sure they do it right. And those people are needed. You can't write them off as completely useless. But if you want to do something for yourself, if you want to better yourself, if you want to, make it worth your while, have some integrity, flex it in the right direction for once. I would say, it's really important as an electrician because if you go to the aisle at Home Depot, right, how many pieces of electrical equipment do you see compared to the plumbing? Or for that matter, if the plumbing's not good, it's going to leak, right? All shit rolls downhill. So there's a lot of things with plumbing that you can get wrong. You can put combination fittings on their side instead of their back or whatever it is. You can do a lot of things with venting that can get pretty hairy, and if you don't have an inspector identify that. But you got the scenario where if you have your dryer or washer that's not properly grounded and then you lose that neutral, you're just going to kill somebody. If you've directly got your hot somehow shorted and it's connected to metal, the only thing saving you is that solid connection of the neutral. You might get a zap in between, but you're not going to get the full voltage, right? There's a lot of things with electrical where it's fairly resilient and forgiving, but man, there's also a lot that can go wrong at the same time. So you look at all this equipment that you got at Home Depot, and all of it's got to be installed in a certain way, per code. Use Ryobi. What does that say about you? Man, I got Ryobi in here. I wasn't going to get any Ryobi. And then I started. And the value's there, I wouldn't say in the field you're going to get the most done with Ryobi. I think ultimately in the long run you're probably wasting money just based on time and the effort of some of their tools, unless you're buying their best tools that they got. Here just because I got traumatized. How'd you get traumatized? So Ryobi's fine. You got the electrostatic sprayers and stuff nobody else makes. Ryobi makes a bunch of tools that not a lot of people do. If Milwaukee made a light that had this feature where you could clamp it, I would buy it, but no one else does. So you got this pretty awesome light that clips, and then since people don't like it, this stuff's constantly on sale. So Ryobi stuff is okay. See here, had an anxiety issue on the job. Some Bobo swapped the ground and the hot when installed the new cord. It's amazing. The customer wasn't killed. Yeah, that's that can happen, man. And if they didn't hook up the ground, that circuit would not have tripped because that's just the way it works, right? A lot of people think that the ground is what trips the breaker. And it is in the most roundabout way, right? But in general, you don't have enough voltage to get the electricity all the way back to the pole through the earth. That only happens in high voltage situations. So if you got 120 volts, it's going to electrify the area. And then you're going to get this gradient voltage where you got little kind of circles. And right here is 120. And as you get further away from the voltage point, you start dissipating your voltage to where maybe you have 80 volts, 70 volts, 60 volts as you get further and further away. But you're never going to get enough voltage to actually physically go back to the pole. So what happens is these little bonding screws here, they actually take the current back to the source at your panel. And then that current can get on the hot, go all the way back through the electric meter, through the transformer, go backwards on the windings of the transformer. This is still on the neutral side. And then come back to the hot, and then go through the hot, and then find that breaker, and then trip it. So this stuff is like really important. And, it's just little things like that. It's like little pieces of the puzzle that just build the whole grounding system. So right now, let's say you're working at a larger job and you got a lead man that's holding you accountable, whatever, and he's in charge. You're just making ends meet and getting done and getting called out on stuff, but maybe you're forgetting to put things in. What happens when you get on your own? Or you become a lead man? They're relying on you. You've been there for so long. Everyone else coming up in the trade is not as genuine, right? I would generally say, in this day and age. And then you're supposed to keep everybody accountable, or whatever it is. What happens when you're off on your own and you're building something? You have your own company, and you're still not accountable. I've seen so much crazy stuff that would just, the stuff the nightmares made up. I can't even talk about it here, being an inspector and just what I've seen. Some stuff is like so bad, I don't even post it. I don't even talk about it. You have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm still listening. I appreciate it, man. It's, so basically, if you're going to get into the electrical trade, you got to be accountable. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to learn from your actions. And you got to flex your integrity in the right direction, even if it's going to cost you money, even if it's going to cost you time. It'll pay off in the long run. It's going to show in your nonverbals. Showing as tonight, perhaps. I don't know. Certified Bobo. Yeah, until it's done right. So, then once you've kind of mastered the level of integrity to where you feel like you wouldn't even think twice about not doing the right thing, right? For me, it just eats me alive if I know that I forgot something. I'm going to see this message here. Perhaps show. Nice. Another moderator. No telling what the moderator did there. That's awesome. So I don't even know where I'm going with it now. Yeah. So once you've mastered, integrity, you wouldn't even think twice about doing something disingenuous or whatever it is. It's your job to pass that on to the next person, which is pretty much what I'm doing here. I'm trying to pass off the thought and the motivation of having integrity. I like how they convince you to buy 2 Milwaukee work lights. So because you're new here, I'll explain it to you. I was in a house where this goes back to integrity, right? I was in a house. They had 2 roofs. They had shingles in the attic, and they had a roof. I am from Bermuda, the island, but I'm in the U.S. I'm in Texas. So from Bermuda, the island, knew I wanted to be an electrician, didn't waste any time doing it. Got done with homeschool early, got my GED, went straight into college, went straight to, we'll see you later, man. Went straight into trade school for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, did 2 years of that. While I was doing 2 years of that, we had an electrical fire at the house, a little small one. We had aluminum wire. Electrician saw my books, hired me on the spot. This was back in 2007. And I've been an electrician ever since. So my last 4 years of, finishing up my school, actually 6 years. So we did 2 years of HVAC. I had 2 more years left. I finished off my last 2 years of HVAC when I was starting my electrical trade school. So I did 4 years of electrical trade school. and 4 years of HVAC essentially. But for 2 years, I was doing 4 nights a week from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, getting home. And then, yeah, do you guys have any questions about that, or trying to get into the trade or whatever you're trying to do? I'm a pretty good resource. Email's conductivewood@gmail.com. Yeah, hit me up. So, yeah, you just got to pass it off to the next person. They don't teach you any of this stuff in school. The only one that can teach you integrity, there's no broom in sight. Bro, who got me? Look, my sawdust is still on the floor from whenever I was. That's great. Yeah, I got something around here. Got him. Yeah, got me. So, taxes certify NEC Genius. When you take a journeyman test, they ask you about taxes as the code book says, not the actual code book. That's funny. One night, dude, we're gonna just talk about what's in the code book, what's in the questions. I could probably rattle off like 20 questions right now that were on my journeyman's test from 2012. Like really prevalent ones, like labeling PV cable. How often do you need the stickers? How often do you need to label welding cable? How far away can a receptacle be from mobile home? What's DC plug-in box amperage for theatrical lighting and motion picture? Heavy-duty lamp holders, what amperage are those? What are standard sizes of amperage you can put on receptacles? Like if you got a 20 amp receptacle, can you put on a 15 amp breaker? If you got a 15 amp receptacle, can you put on a 20 amp breaker? If you got a 30 amp receptacle, what's the maximum size breaker you can put that on? I had some wire fill, I had some conduit fill. We had a lot of Article 100 questions. Working clearance, dedicated working space, how many, just all that stuff. Yeah, conduit fill. So I think I did a video on conduit fill already, but we can do another one. Load calculations. No load calculations. They ask you, so in your master's, they ask you load calculations where you got to like really put it all down, but they're going to ask you like how many VA per square foot for a house, how many VA per square foot for a barn or whatever. What's the minimum number of branch circuits? So they're asking you load calculation questions, but they're not asking you to do the whole load calculation. And I'll tell you what, I got the one question. They wanted me to do load calculation on 56 plugs for a school and some heaters and some, dude, I just skipped that question because it's not worth my time, because that's only 2 points out of all the points. So I just went straight for what I knew and what I knew well. And I just kind of guessed on that one because, that's time. So even though I still had 3 hours and 25 minutes, I finished my journeyman's test in 45 minutes. I think they give you 4 hours. So even though I had like 3 more hours, I just couldn't mentally sit there and beat myself up over one question that I wasn't sure if I knew. There's others. How many air changes per hour do you have in a class 2, whatever location, if it's for, fuel dispensary or if you're in a pit for working on cars, things like that. They ask you questions that's like hard to look up. They just want to make sure you know how to look in the book. Most of that test is wiring methods, Article 300. Bored holes in studs. Wag. Can you shout me out? What's up, Nathan Wool? What's going on? There's your shout out. How you doing? Bored holes, 1.25 inches away from the edge of the stud. How thick does the nail plate need to be? Just all that stuff, man. I got him. So hopefully I pronounced the name correctly. But yeah, so once you've like mastered this art of integrity where you wouldn't think twice about not doing the right thing. Wally. Nice. Nathan Wally, I think. There's a bunch of movies. Two L's. Um, you got to pass off to the next person. You got to instill it in your apprentices. There's a lot. Any advice for a new apprentice, man? Are you doing commercial or are you doing residential? Because it's different advice. The biggest advice is probably, and this is going to sound really bad, but you got to roll with the punches. The punches being the weather, the punches being something you don't want to do, the punches being the same freaking thing all over again. Whatever it is, man, it's got to be really worth it for you. Yes, he has new IBEW. Nice commercial. Yeah, man, roll with the punches. You're not too old to push a broom. You're not too old to do whatever, and always be looking. Just figure out what your journeyman wants next. Whatever it is. If he's whatever it is, have his material, whatever it is, man, pick his brain. If he doesn't want to teach you, you need to find somebody else, man. It's their job to teach you. Just tolerate it until you find somebody that's willing to learn. Your eagerness is contagious for people. If you're going to find somebody that wants to teach, it's just as contagious as somebody that wants to learn. And it shows up. You don't even have to say it, dude. You just show up. You got the tools. You got your tool belt on. You're ready to go. It's your gung-ho attitude. It's pretty much all the nonverbal stuff, man. It's just the genuine. I wish Josh was doing scrapping, but I'm doing good at scrapping. I'm just scrapping. I don't know. Yeah, just be willing to get it done, man. That's one of the biggest things, Learn the material, learn what to expect next. And picking up the code book, telling you to pick up the code book is almost like telling you to go read a freaking dictionary. You want to understand why you're doing stuff. So don't just pick up the code book. Google stuff like, why are you bonding? Google your stuff like, how does a circuit work? If you understand how something works, right, you're more that likely to respect it. So when I try to, and the best way you can teach somebody is if you're to learn something is if you're teaching it. So I try to educate everybody on everything, dude. I tell everyone the reason why I'm telling you to do it, not just because I'm trying to sound smart or whatever it is, but it's trying to motivate you to keep doing the right thing. If you know why you're doing it, a lot of people just do stuff because they've been doing it for years. They have no idea that this is a small piece of puzzle into tripping a breaker. It sounds obvious, but they don't understand just how important one little screw can be in electrical. One little loose connection over time, as it gets looser, becomes non-conductive. And then after that, it becomes, gets built up in heat. And then the heat creates more non-conductivity. And then it just spirals into where you're just compromised. The whole wire is compromised. And the same thing with your integrity, man. Once you start going that direction downhill, man, your whole mindset is compromised. I've had helpers that I thought were going to be somebody. I've got helpers that are somebody. I've got helpers that I sold my first house to, and we're best friends, and we still hang out, and he's very valuable in his company. But I've also got helpers where I let somebody borrow him, and they ruined him in like less than a week. I literally went up to the mezzanine. They had built like a chin-up bar. They were doing pull-ups while they were building I'm trying not to be too specific on what they were building. They were building some panels. And I was like, all right, come on, man, let's go back down and start doing this. And the guy literally, he looked at me and said, it's okay, Rob, we'll get it done tomorrow. And I was like, what? I was like, you're ruined, man. You're done. Like, what just happened, So it's just the willingness to continue at it and just do the same crap, man. My first job site was working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. And that was pretty rough. I mean, I was falling asleep on ladders, but I was also learning a bunch, and I was making a lot of money. I think at $12 an hour, I think I was making $1,000 a week checks. There's money in this if you want it. At $12 an hour, you can make $1,000 a week after taxes. It's not fun, But uh, the more you show up, the more you get to the grind, the more you do it. Hang on, let me try to find some questions here. Thanks, Joshua. I gotta scroll all the way back up, man. I saw that freaking ADHD kicked in. B-ball goat. Let me find him. Hang on. My apologies. Where is it? Be valuable at being what you're good at, what you do, learning to do it right. Nathan Wally. B-ball goat. I don't know what B-ball goat is. Hang on. Unless you guys got me chasing a ghost right now. Badass glasses. Yeah, man. Someone already commented on them. You want to see how thick they are? I can't see anything without them, dude. Look up what an arc flash is to learn to appreciate life. We got lots of new people here tonight. What's up, everyone? Yeah, what's going on, everybody? We do electrical content, man. I'm an electrical inspector. I don't advertise it very much. I don't put it in the channel. I don't put it in anything at all. You mentioned ADHD seems like a prerequisite. So I was starting to tell you about all my tools, man, and why I have 2 lights and all this stuff, but ADHD kicked in. So we had shingles in an attic, right? We had another roof above that, and that roof leaked. And because the contractor went lazy and didn't remove all the shingles and have 2 roofs and all this stuff, I had mold in my house, and I got really sick, and I probably almost died 4 or 5 times. It's changed kind of my whole outlook on life. I definitely hang out with my kids more, hang out with my family more, and I feel like I got more to offer you guys. But during that whole time, I ended up losing my gallbladder. My mental just agitated the ADHD really bad. I've never been the same. I'm like forever scarred. But Joshua Wilson, who's in the comments, actually bought me pretty much every Milwaukee there. And we're really grateful for it, man. We got a really, really good community. And let's see here. I'm trying to count. There's so many people in here, man. You mentioned ADHD seems like a prerequisite. Yeah. So I'm trying to catch up on the chat, but it seems like it's impossible to do here. So the biggest thing, man, is, yeah, thank you. The biggest thing is there, man, once you've mastered your integrity, you got to pass it off to the next person. You got to teach it. Just like, the more stuff you know, I've got way too much knowledge for the electrical field to not have a YouTube channel and share it. I've just got too much. I've got 2 years of infrared. I've got 5 years of industrial. I've got a mix of the rest being commercial and just all different types of commercial. And then I've got 2 solid years of residential. And in one of those years, I was actually selling and explaining and doing all that stuff. Yo, what's up? TRZ123R. What's going on? Joshua Wilson, just enjoying part of being, if it's only watching. Yeah. So, the biggest thing is just having the integrity and the mindset to do the right thing when nobody's watching. Because at the end of the day, man, all you've got is your name and your word. And your name is kind of your legacy, right? Everyone kind of knows, especially this is true in Bermuda, everybody knows who your father is. And it's less prevalent here in the United States, but it still rings true, man. What are you leaving behind? What are you teaching your kids? Even if everybody doesn't know who you are, your kids know who you are. And what are your kids going to look at? And what is everyone else looking up to you? What are all the people that are learning in the field looking up to? No need for label. Label me human if you need to label me something. So that's pretty much it, man. Just do the right thing when nobody's looking, and flex that integrity muscle the way that doesn't feel comfortable. Can I get a shout out? What's up, Daddy? Yeah, Daddy. Eric Lewis, what's up? HVAC dude here. Nice, dude. I did HVAC I did 4 years of school of HVAC, and I did probably about 40 to 50 side jobs. You probably don't want to hear from me. Just kidding, just kidding. So, yeah, man, HVAC started my love. Well, I already wanted to be an electrician, but troubleshooting, dude, is like where it's at, man. You're literally chasing invisibleness and trying to track down what's going on. It's really cool, man. HVAC is really, really one of those things that's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's very needed, very solid. It's almost on the same path, bro. It's making me want to get into PCB repair. That's cool. Facts, being the bigger man has brought my business further than I thought. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, where I'm at, I could probably only count on my fingers and toes for people that you can count on to do the right thing. There's not very many jobs that I go to that I don't think, what am I going to find here? You know, I'm always looking for something. And even on those guys, like every once in a while I find this one guy, like sometimes he'll put the cold water clamp after the shut off instead of before. So what that means is the shut off for your valve for your water heater. The cold water coming in has a valve, and you want to clamp it before the valve, because when a plumber comes to replace that valve, he might replace it with plastic. So you're not going to get that same conductivity across the valve. So the code says they want you to attach within 5 feet pretty much as soon as you can. And the verbiage being 5 feet doesn't mean like you got to cut out the wall like right here and put it within 5 feet. I mean, sure you can, but the intent of the code would be like if it's in a wall and completely concealed in a wall with no splices, and it emerges in the attic and there's no other access to it, you can clamp it in the attic, right? But if it starts here and then it's exposed or whatever it does, and it goes like, you want to clamp it right as soon as you can where the copper first emerges. You should be able to get away with being inside of a concealed wall or something. Ideally, you do want to be within 5 feet, but you can use your brain here. Unfortunately, auto mechanics is losing battle, losing industry, broken new parts, unrepairable electric cars. The used car industry is dying. Yeah. Yep. I don't know too much about that, but I would agree. I buy a car warranty, whatever car I buy, 4K, 5K, whatever's it up front, and you're good for 6 years, because the stuff's only gonna get more expensive, man. Electricians coming up are gonna be making so much money because the integrity that's out there, the lack of wanting to do something right and knowing how to do it, and just people willing to teach, and then people wanting to work with their hands is just dying. Just everything in general is just dying. So it's the same thing with a car, man. You got to have integrity. Right to repair is a true thing. I was telling Tools with Souls today, man. I was like, if they can build a Rolex, right? Because my blend door on my freaking Honda is doing something. It just won't blow cold. Yeah, it won't blow cold. So it could be a fuse or whatever. I got a warranty. I'm not worried about it. Might be a fuse, but it just won't actuate, whatever. If they can build a Rolex, I don't understand why they can't put the motor somewhere else, right? You could like do something. I've been building with the Connects Lego and making race cars and stuff. I don't know why they got to put the motor underneath the dashboard, and then $1,000 of labor later, we're replacing a $20 switch, whatever it is. It's so ridiculous, man. My Samsung 3-year-old washer went out. I remember when washers would last 10 plus easy. Yeah, that's a scary thing, man. They warranty the motor because it's direct drive, which is essentially like almost no wear and tear for 10 years anyway. They're just gonna last. If they're gonna go out before 10 years, that's when they're gonna go. If not, they're gonna. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, man. They can't put stuff where it should go. But anyway, I got to get off of here. What's going on, Russell Maniac? Maniac. We're going to go with Maniac on that. Maniac. What's going on? We're just talking about integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking, and flexing that muscle in the right direction. What's going on, Pierce to Germs? We're just out here trying to tell people to do the right thing. So that's one of the biggest things, man. And then once you've mastered the integrity, you've got to pass it on. You got to teach. You got to teach as you're coming up, and your kids are watching. If it's not seen at the job site, it's going to be seen through your children. It's so important, man. There's really no good excuse for no integrity, and there's no room for it in the electrical field. There's just too many bits and pieces. Like I said before, just go to Home Depot, look at all the parts, and realize all those parts got to get installed. I mean, they got a whole aisle with like 1,000 different pieces, right? Every one of those has a purpose, and in most cases, you got to install them all on one job. Don't hold others, even your friends, accountable. Yeah, absolutely. So, once you're done with that job, your name's on it, you signed off on it, you can't take it back. It's done. So all you've got is your name and your word. And that's all we got. That's going to determine if you're going to get the next job. At some point, someone like me is going to go back into that building, and you could be on a contract. You could doing a lot of things, right? Someone's going to go back in that building. The building's going to get renovated, and someone's going to see something. Inevitably, someone is going to see something that somebody has done at some point, and that company's name's all over it. Like I said, if you need to jump off a cliff that's 1,000 feet across, jumps 997 feet, you'll fall just like the missing bond screw. You fell short. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, always try to treat every customer. That's a good rule too. One good thing if you're in sales and stuff, man, fill that value bucket. You fill that value bucket with just whatever it is. You as a person, your integrity. Small stuff goes a long way, right? If you're in the kitchen and you're trying to sell a can light, so you're putting in one of those retrofit can lights, you're pulling out their bulbs, whatever, and you notice that their trash is full or something, man, offer to take it out. Small things like that go a long way. Maybe that lady is, or whoever it is in the house, they're older, that's a huge deal. Stuff like that, we're young, we can do it. There's a lot of things you don't realize, man, that goes a long way. All you got to do is ask. There could be something in a closet they've been trying to reach for a week. Hey, while I'm here and I've got this ladder, you don't have to say it like you're big and strong. Hey, I've got this ladder here. While it's in the house, is there anything that you've had trouble reaching? Oh yeah, that attic pull cord. I'd like to get in the attic, but I can't reach the cord. Well, whatever it is, it goes a long way. Stuff like that adds value to your company and helps you sell jobs more than you even know. Yes, when I offered to bring groceries in for someone, they gave me the best review in the world for 30 seconds of help. Yeah, it goes a long way, man. Fill that value bucket. Definitely explain everything you're going to do to justify your cost. Hey, this plug doesn't work. This plug right here, it doesn't work. You already know what the problem is. I could charge you $70 for the dispatch and fix this one plug, but we both know that the other plug feeding it is eventually going to fail because electricity works its way to the weakest point. What we're going to do, I'd like to just charge you $70 and fix this, but I'm going to do something called diagnostics, which is going to cover my time to make sure I can guarantee this circuit. If I only charge you $70 today and we fix this one plug and this next plug goes bad in a week, you're still out $70 and you're never going to call me back. That's just the way it is, right? Just level with them. I know you're not going to call me back because I didn't fix your problem, even though I only charge you $70 today. I'm going to charge you $300. We're going to go work our way backwards through the circuit. We're going to guarantee every receptacle on this whole circuit. We're going to know everything about it. I'm going to replace the breaker for you, and you're not going to have any more problems. How does that sound? I can get started now. I got my tools. My van is fully stocked. It's insured. We're licensed. I'm background checked. Do you want me to start this now or later? It's so easy. And that's $300 isn't even a lot of money nowadays. It's that was 2017 prices. Did you ever send the rigid four tool combo to that winner? Explain the problem, how it's caused. Yeah, exactly. You know what's going to happen if you don't continue. Well, if you don't continue, you know, you're going to potentially get more arcing and you're going to get non-conductive and you know, your wire's going to heat up. And the breaker's not going to trip because it takes a long time for that breaker to trip. You got to heat up that whole wire for that breaker to trip on an overload or a situation like that. So the wire is being damaged inside the wall the whole time this is happening, and the breaker's never going to trip until the wire's compromised. And then you're replacing the wire, or at least you should. What handbook do you recommend for my journeyman test? The NEC, the code book. Go to Article 300, wiring methods. Pretty much all in there. It's all wiring methods. You got a couple of calculations. You might have some stuff in Article 500. Just practice looking stuff up. There's a lot of practice tests. Go like test.com, get some practice tests. The biggest thing, it's not even what's on the test. Just looking up and how to find stuff quickly and knowing the book and knowing where to look and knowing the key words, right? If it says feeder, that's not going to be a service. So you're not going to be in 230 in services. If it's talking about, you know, a branch circuit, you know, it's 210. If it's, you know, my buddy's asking how long was my live, but we're still live. Electrical work was tricky to learn since all I knew was DC volt systems. Yeah. Most experienced electricians are detectives. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We are detectives. Still grinding. Yeah, man. All right. This time I really got to get out of here. So integrity is like a muscle, man. Flex it the way that it hurts the most. And it's probably for the better. I'll get in my car, dude. I'll get in my car. I'll walk down whatever it is. I'll be all the way out and I'll think to myself, oh crap, I didn't look at blah, blah, blah. It could be the maximum AC nameplate rating or whatever. What do? You get your ass back out of the car and you go verify it, because I could just put, hey, I didn't look at the AC, recall the inspection, right? You could do that. Sure. Is that good? No, it's not good. It's wasting time and money for the electrician. You want to build value in everything you do. So my value is being accountable. If I make the wrong call, the other day I made the wrong call. I had to call this guy, eat some humble pie. It was delicious. Nothing like some lightly salted crow. This guy, yeah, man, no worries. Thanks, Chris. Got out of the car. I looked up and I saw that the wire supplying the house was too low, or so I thought it was. And actually, for a house, I think you'd be like 12 and a half feet above the driveway. But my commercial brain was like, that's not 18 feet. So for me, it looked kind of short. You know, failed it. And then Went back and double checked, and I realized, damn. So I had to call the guy, and I was like, hey, man, you know, I was wrong. It is what it is, dude. People make mistakes. There's no shame in being wrong. It's how do you come back from it? How are you explaining it? You know, all that stuff. What kind of person do you want to be? So anyway, that's all I got. You guys have a good night. We'll see you later. I can't even find the button.